So welcome to this segment as we continue with our B2. It says the following are some common, substances. So they have given us some common substances. There's air, water, limestone, sugar, common salt, brass, calcium, petroleum. Choose from the above list a substance which is a compound containing 3 elements. So from there, which one contains 3 elements? The truth is that there we can actually have limestone. Remember, limestone is calcium carbonate. So there's calcium, there's carbon, and there's also oxygen. So it contains 3 elements. Then B, mixture of 2 elements. So they are simply talking about just a mixture of 2 elements. Brass is actually a mixture of 2 elements. And what are those elements that are found there? You may find copper and zinc. Those are the ones that are going to be mixed. Of course, you can pick up even more than one from there, but it says choose from the list which substance, so you are at liberty. Then a mixture containing both elements and compound. The one containing elements and compound is simply air. Remember, air is simply a mixture of gases. That's what we mean. And things like oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide there. So you may find actually even things like argon, krypton. There are certain elements that you may find. Xenon may actually be found there. So I may pick up that one. Then D, a mixture of compounds. In this case, a mixture of compound, I think the one that would qualify is actually petroleum. Why? Because petroleum is actually a mixture of hydrocarbons, compounds containing carbon and hydrogen, atoms. So that's what we could have talked about. Look at B3. B3 says atoms of J and K have 8 and 12 electrons respectively. So J 8 and K 12 respectively. Determine the formula of the compound or molecule formed by the combination of J and K. So they want us to determine the formula. Now if you look at it this way, I can write the electronic configuration for J, it will be 2,6, and the electronic configuration for K will be 2,8,2. So if you look at it, there are 2 electrons, so meaning K is actually found in group 2, and J, because there are 6 electrons, means that it is found in group what? 6. Now remember, those in group 2 are simply metals. So this one is actually a metal. Those in group 6, this one is a non-what? Is a non-metal. So you needed to have those ideas as you are answering this question. So what compound will be formed, between J and K? Between J and K, so write the formula. So you can't start with a non-metal, so you are going to start with a metal and an element. Because it is in group 2, K means it has a valence of 2. J is in group 6, meaning it has a valence of how many are remaining to make it 2? So meaning it is also has a valence of 2. So remember, you can reduce that, and when you exchange the valences, you are just going to have KJ. So it was not just a matter of writing them anyhow, no. So that was actually going to be, KJ there. All right. Then J and J, this is a non-metal. So J and J will actually form up J2, because when a non-metal combines, that forms up what we call as being a diatomic molecule, 2 atoms combined. So that's going to be the formula. Then it says in each of the cases shown in A1 and 2, name the type of chemical bond found. So in number 1 there, A1, the type of bond that is found, because it's between a metal and a non-metal, that is what we call as being ionic. So that is ionic bond. So that's the type of bond that is actually existing there. So that's an ionic bond. Then in A Roman 2 there, because it's between non-metals, that's a covalent or covalent bond, also known as molecular bond. This one is called electrovalent bond. Then give two physical properties of the compound formed in A1. So two physical properties of the compound formed. So usually an ionic compound consists, one, it has actually, high melting point. No wonder most of them are simply used as refractory materials that are able to withstand high temperatures, especially in kilns, incinerators, and other furnaces. Then two, all ionic compound actually conduct electricity. So conduct electricity when in molten or aqueous state. So that is what you need to remember. So those are things that you needed to put into consideration. Please watch out as I try to answer some other questions like B4 and also B5 under more concept. Thank you so much for